The Honourable Member of Vanimo Green.
Minister for Internal Security for a very comprehensive ministerial statement and a clear pathway in the reforms in the police force and the correctional services institution. It demonstrates clearly the Marape Rosso government's seriousness in addressing law and order issue in our country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would like to contribute in the grievances debate. In the March debated 918 million loan from IMF, or 3.25 billion. Now let me firstly say on outset that whatever decision or decisions that we make as a government, we must never or we must not surrender our sovereign rights. We must never. I believe firmly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in the style and system of government and the type of society that our founding fathers envisioned in the foundation of our foundation document, the National Constitution. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I fought on Bougainville against our own brothers in the Bougainville Civil War. At a certain point, when I felt that our sovereign responsibilities of our defense force was transferred to foreign mercenaries, I took up arms and repelled the foreign mercenaries from our country. I am now compelled, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to declare that we must not surrender our sovereign rights and entrust it or trust it in any foreign body. Economic management of our country, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is the sovereign right. The right to determine our political and economic destiny is the very thing we desired when we called for and were granted independence in 16 September 1975. We must not surrender the management of our economy to the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, or any coalition or bilateral or multilateral partners, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This is morally reprehensible or morally wrong. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I must caution our government and our country. The current IMF Staff Assistance Program and structural benchmarks are the first steps towards surrendering those basic rights of our country. As I can see in the quantitative performance criteria, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the indicative targets and the structural benchmarks under the proposed IMF program, our government is held to ransom, almost at ransom. For instance, the Treasurer has told us the first disbursement of the funds of 310 million kina will be this month, but the second will probably be in 2024. While reforms and structural adjustments are needed, why does Papua New Guinea government require outside assistance to perform a function that is sovereign to us? It is our sovereign duty. Though we refine policies, through refined policies, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and operating within the confines of existing legislation, the government has so many options to overcome current problems. The first is to live within our means. If we collect only 12 billion in internal revenue, why is our expenditure budget at 24 billion? That is living beyond our means. If we import more than we export, that is living beyond our means. Socioeconomic problems are unavoidable facts faced by every government. We must manage those problems ourselves, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Our people have lived for thousands of years without any outside assistance. The majority of our population live in rural areas depending on self-employment and subsistence agriculture. Mr. Speaker, we must not introduce dependency on aid, loans, but rely on trade and self-reliance in our country. We must inculcate, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in our people a habit of self-reliance, independence, and hard work. We have not tested whether or not yams from Trobriand Islands, sago from the Pacific, banana from Macam, cacao from Agen, and fish and coconuts from the coast can be traded to the islands and to the coastal areas. Government must direct investment in enabling infrastructures, such as energy transformation and transport transformation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, when I say direct investment, why don't we now start rehabilitating our coconut plantations, our coffee plantations, our cacao plantations? Before many extractive industries in our country were introduced, our budget was reliant on the agricultural sector. The Prime Minister has got a very good policy directions. We need to just pick it up from there and drive it. Economy is here in the country. We do not need to go outside of the country to borrow. We just need 3 interventional projects in agricultural sector. And you will see how economy of our country will thrive. These are the springboards of our economy. Government must now direct investment in enabling infrastructure. We need to design the entry points in our government policies, and we guide it. Mr. Deputy Speaker, our government can therefore better utilize grants and concessional loans into those areas. For example, the state has backing rights in mineral sector. If we design a policy approach to aggregate 30% of our take in the mining sector, we do not need to go out and bring a Tukina company to come and refine our gold. We utilize our 30%. The government of Papua New Guinea has enough money and we can build our own gold refinery and gold bullion in the country. We do not need to go outside. We have the provisions within our laws. Why don't we access the 30% in the mineral sector and refine our own gold? We have money in KPH, Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited. We have money in KCH, in the SOEs. Assign one of the entities within the SOE, maybe in the mining department, to build our own gold refinery. We bring a Tukina company and we have to finance them, give them 10 million kina to come and build our refinery. We got to do away with that. In the forestry sector, there is provision in the Forestry Act for state purchase option of 25% of our raw material. We can downstream it through state marketing agency. This is where our economy is. The economy is within our country. We have money within our country. We just need to touch it and press the right button, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In the hydrocarbon industry, we have option of 24.5%. Why don't we say to the multinational companies that we want our own oil and gas and we refine it also? Mr. Deputy Speaker, IMF and the World Bank, through their structural adjustment programs around the world, have held every country at ransom and they are still paying their loans today. We make one mistake, this country is going to go into receivership. And we are already making that mistake by taking that step. I debated during the budget time last year that Treasurer made big mistake by increasing 70% tax to the log export levies. This is one of the worst decisions the Treasurer has made by going to IMF and bringing this money on board. Trust me today, put this time down on your diary that Papua New Guinea will go into receivership by getting this 918 million or 3.25 billion. we will be at the ends of the IMF and World Bank, and we will not move because they will control us. Mr. Deputy Speaker, these are real words for us to sink it down in our hearts and in our minds that this will come reality. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.